we think we are when we do something like that.
What's up, fight fans? This is the Combat Connection, and I'm your host, Brett Cagle. We are live on the Cageside Press social media platforms, and we have a loaded show for you today. We'll be breaking down everything from UFC 310 and looking ahead at UFC Fight Night, Covington versus Buckley this weekend. All right, Eddie, we got a lot to get into. Alexandre Pantoja defends his championship, submits Kai Asakura, second round. We kind of described this one, kill or be killed. Kai was going to come at him from the start. That's what he did. He was aggressive, tried to get him out of there. But Pantoja's as tough as they come, ate everything that he threw at him, and eventually got him out of there with a second round submission. What do you think of Pantoja's performance, and what's next for Kai Asakura after this defeat?
Dude, that is typical of Pantoja. It's the kind of guy that everyone, because he doesn't talk. Like, he's not, I guess for like a better term, he's not as charismatic like Brandon Moreno. He's not going to go out there and be like, I'm just a kid from Mexico, but I did it. I'm translating from Spanish, but still, like, he's not a loudmouth like Sean O'Malley. Like, I mean, at flyweight, I can't think of anyone that was like equivalent at the top of my head, but either way.
Demetrius Johnson, the guy he called out after the fight, really wasn't the biggest talker, but both of them speak, with their actions. Multiple title defenses here for Pantoja, beats Brandon Royval, Brandon Moreno, and they kind of showed Royval on the teleprompter there, speaking to him after the fight. Yeah. I don't know if he knew that the UFC was going to put him up there as maybe a potential next challenger for Pantoja, but Pantoja called out Demetrius Johnson, so there's a lot of ways this one could go. Who would you like to see Pantoja fight next? I feel like they're really trying to make blockbuster matchups now in this 125-pound division so people can, put interest into it. Which one of those would you like to see next?
DJ, man, you talking about saving making 125 great again, right? Like, DJ, bring DJ back. The former king, the former not just king, dominant king, the guy who invented the mouse trap, the guy who just title after win after win after win, defense to defense, even though the boss, who by the way says he's the one that had his back the whole fucking time, which, come on now, Dana, we see you. All right, we have eyes. But at the same time, right, he kept every single time Dana would throw somebody at him. Oh, this is going to be the guy. Nope. This is going to be the guy. Nope. And then he leads with his title to go to one championship and gets the bag. Lives great to the point where, like, he tweeted out seconds after Pantoja made the call out, because I was doing coverage from home, and I was looking at his Twitter. As soon as he said it, Pantoja said, Demetrius Johnson. I went right to the Twitter, and Demetrius Johnson's like, man, my black ass ain't coming back. That's literally what he said. Like, I ain't coming back to fight.
Yeah, he was on a live stream. He was doing a fight companion. Yeah. You were doing your own, so you probably couldn't watch his, but he was doing a live reaction to when Pantoja called him out, and he's like, I'm not coming back. But, I mean, that's the fight people really want to see. It's the greatest of all time at that weight class versus, the current best fighter we've had in a numerous amount of years in Pantoja. It's an interesting stylistic matchup. I think Demetrius Johnson would want to keep that fight standing, but as we saw this weekend, Pantoja can, take a lot of punishment from people and keep marching forward and get the fight to the ground. So I don't know really what's next for Pantoja. It's going to be interesting. If it's not Demetrius Johnson, though, is there any interest from you, or do you think there will be any interest from the casual fan to see him fight Brandon Royval or Brandon Moreno?
I think it's got to be. I don't think anyone wants to see him Brandon Moreno again. That's like, I love Brandon Moreno. All right, he's a fellow countryman of mine. A huge fan of the guy even now. But I think we're kind of tired of rematches with Brandon Moreno. I think let him do his thing. Let him go chill out, find some other people, whatever. I think it's gonna be Brandon Royval if it's not DJ. Otherwise, like, I mean, you got some guys from other promotions that's trying to jump over. I mean, maybe they can make 125.
Now, we kind of talked last week and said, if Kai Asakura loses, it's no harm, no foul. Maybe he goes back to Ryzen, becomes a champion over there again, possibly competes early next year for them. Do you think he sticks around in the UFC and tries to make a second push at things, or is it going to be like kind of what we said, and do you think he goes back over to Japan?
Look, I know Dana doesn't watch MMA very often, other than UFC, maybe a couple things here and there sometimes, right? He's a busy guy. It's not that he doesn't like the sport. He's clearly made it to what it is. I think Sean Shelby, I think McMaynard, I think all those the matchmakers, I think they all watched a bunch of Ryzen fights, and I think they'd be stupid to let that man go back to Ryzen. Like, you let that dude stay and build. Give him whoever you want. Look, you give him the champion. What do you think was going to happen, right? Were you hoping for a home run? Yeah, sure. But you got what we all expect. I mean, I expected this to happen like exactly the way it went down, right? Submission and all that after a round or I thought it was gonna be third round, but a round or two of going back and forth. But in terms of the matchmakers, they know what they have. They're not gonna let him go. I mean, I wouldn't. If I'm Mick, if I'm Sean, I mean, no. Stick around, chill out, catch your breath, get your bearings, and we're gonna give you a fun striking matchup next. All right, and then maybe build you back into what could be another title shot at some point.
Yeah, and honestly, if I'm thinking about this, I really want to see him fight at 135 pounds. That's where he had the championship at Ryzen. I don't know how much the weight cut really affected him, but there were pictures of him looking significantly drained on the scale on weigh-in day. So I don't think that really played a factor. He was the bigger fighter in there on fight night. He didn't look dehydrated or anything like that, had good movement. I was impressed with what I saw from him in his striking and his speed. It's just that Pantoja, he might have a historically great chin for one of these lower weight class fighters, honestly. He just went to war with Brandon Moreno and then again took punishment from a guy who's a knockout artist and a proven world champion in a different promotion. But if I want to see Kai Asakura again in the UFC, I want to see him at 135 pounds. I think that he would look better at 135 pounds, just like Davison Figueiredo did. And who knows, maybe you can match those two guys up, and that would be an entertaining contest.
100%. Real quick, we have a comment on the Instagram. Fight Culture CA says UFC didn't have him talking about DJ. UFC didn't have his back. DJ's past his prime and living lavish. I would like to see him rematch Urseg. Steve Urseg in a rematch.
Well, Urseg did just lose again, I believe. Did he lose? He got knocked out by Kai Kara France, correct?
He got knocked the fuck out by Kai Kara France.
Urseg, I like the thank you for commenting. But I like the potential of Steve Urseg. On a previous show that we had, or that I had, I was saying that Steve Urseg at the time that he got the opportunity had the most talent in the division, to warrant that. Now he didn't have the opponents on. He'd only knocked out Matt Schnell, and he really doesn't have that high of a quality win in the UFC. Now he was really close to beating Pantoja, and got reversed in the 5th round, or he would have won that fight. But since then he gets knocked out by Kai Kara France. He's probably 2 fights away from earning himself a title opportunity. But thanks for.
Look, I wouldn't mind Steve. Even if they say screw it, whoever, just throw whoever, because that 125 is kind of a who knows what's going to happen type of thing. Maybe someone comes through 135 comes down. But if they say, you know what, Steve Urseg next, get yourself another shot at Pantoja. I'm not mad at it. 125 needs help.
I mean, it does need help, and that brings up here's a point that we briefly touched on last week. Muhammad Mokaev, they let him go. He did it to himself. Terrible actions. But at the end of the day, he's a top 10 talent in the world. And if he's in there fighting in the Middle East and Brave, no one's really going to hear about it. He loses over there. Maybe he never gets his opportunity in a major mixed martial arts promotion like the UFC again. So I think that, maybe bringing him back on board, you set him on the shelf for 8 months, 9 months, you scared the kid. I don't think he's going to act like that again if you brought him back. I think that would add some much needed depth to this 125-pound division. But I believe he had a fight scheduled coming up in Brave.
He lost his opponent.
What did you say?
He lost his opponent.
Oh, did he?
Let me see. Yeah, I pulled out due to health issues. Yeah. Like days before the fight.
Bring the guy back, in my opinion. You need depth at that weight class. He was your brightest up-and-comer. We're going to talk about Manel Kape versus Bruno Silva this weekend. He beat Manel Kape. And honestly, there's not been hype coming into a 125-pound fight like there was in that contest. Right. He brings a level of bad blood that can be toxic, but it reminds you of kind of like a Ryan Garcia, not for the same reasons, but there is certainly a level of hostility with him and his opponents.
Absolutely. And again, I think Mokaev comes back eventually. And honestly, if I'm the matchmakers, maybe a little scare of getting almost kicked out. His contract was up, but I'm pretty much getting kicked out of the UFC. Maybe that was enough to scare him straight, right? Maybe you call him, like, if he doesn't get an opponent this weekend, but hey, man, look, we get it. You lost out on your fight. Do you get it now? Do you understand? You got to be a grown ass man. You actually got to grow up a little bit and stop doing dumb things, right? And letting your emotions take, like, this is your last chance. You do this again, right? We're banning you. Like, we're gonna Paul Daly your ass. You ain't coming back ever, right? And I think that'd be enough for him to come back. Because I mean, look, you can say a lot of things about Muhammad Mokaev, but the one thing you can definitely say that's 100% true is that man wants to be great so bad. I mean, so bad that he signs with Brave and immediately says, "This is just to get back to the UFC. I don't care about Brave."
Yeah, I mean, And that's the right thing for him to do. He's an undefeated fighter. He's a world-class talent. We saw what he did against Cody Durden and other fighters on his way up. So hope he gets back into the UFC. Congratulations to Alexandre Pantoja, though, on his victory over Kai Asakura, and I hope to see Kai Asakura again at 135 pounds. But moving on, we had in the co-main event, a battle of undefeateds. Shavkat Rakhmonov defeats Ian Gary by unanimous decision, 48-47 on all judges' scorecards. We found out this week that Rakhmonov had an apparent injury. It looks like an MCL coming into this one. But he showcased well, in my opinion. He, went to the first decision of his career, had finished every opponent leading up to that. But Shavkat Rakhmonov kind of had to hold Ian Gary up against the fence for large portions of this fight, which I didn't expect. He did march forward. There was not really a time that Ian Gary was pushing him back. But at the same time, Ian Gary was landing some good shots on the feet. And I was really impressed with the takedown defense of Ian Gary in this one. I thought for the first 3 rounds, he really did a good job of keeping this one standing. And while he maybe didn't win, the fight on the feet, he showed well. And I think that a potential rematch with Rakhmonov down the road, if Rakhmonov becomes a champion, is something that fight fans can look forward to. But I don't think the stock of Ian Gary goes down in this one. I think Shavkat Rakhmonov proved that he's one of the elite talents in the world, and this really hypes up a fight with Belal Muhammad. I think Muhammad's going to see this fight and maybe think there's, some areas that he can exploit on Shavkat Rakhmonov. But I was impressed with Rakhmonov, even though this was his first decision victory. He goes 5 rounds for the first time, didn't show any slowing in the gas tank in the 4th or 5th round. Looks to be the total package, Eddie. What'd you make of this one?
The thing about Shavkat, look, if Daniel Cormier is correct and he's actually came in with some kind of ligament damage or ligament injury, impressive what he did against Ian Machado Gary. Because Ian's a fisherman. Okay, what I mean by that is he has bait. He throws out bait. He comes, he kind of lunges into you a little bit. He has that wide stance and all that, trying to make you kind of attack. Right, Rakhmonov wasn't able to. Right, so. And, that was one thing. It makes you wonder if he was healthy, if he's actually injured. If he was healthy, would he have ragdolled Ian Gary like we all thought he would have, right? But you still got to give Ian Gary that credit to be able to stop pretty much every takedown, but 2. I think he only got taken down like twice. Yeah. And so, great, honestly, great fight by both men. I think this fight might give Belal Muhammad a false security when it comes to Shavkat. Because, and I'm not saying Belal Muhammad's not a great fighter. He's not just he's a great fighter. Hate him all you want to, folks. Yeah, is he cringe? Sure. Is he kind of, does he, piss everybody off because he thinks it's funny? Sure, 100%. But the man can fight, and he's a champion. He's great. That much you have to give him. But I do feel like Shavkat, like he's just keeping his heat warm for Shavkat. And if he takes a lot from this fight in terms of the way Shavkat looked, whether he's injured or not, I think he's going to give himself a false security. He might get in some trouble here next. I don't know when they're going to fight, but
yeah, I think that's a really valid point because if you're Belal Muhammad in this one and you saw how much he struggled trying to get Ian Gary to the ground, you're going to think in your head, there's no way this guy's taking me down. This is going to be Sean Brady 2.0. I'm going to bust him up on the feet. He's going to attempt takedowns and tire himself out. But I don't think that's the full story when it comes to Shavkat Rakhmonov. I don't know if he even tries to take the fight to the ground when he fights Belal Muhammad. That'd be an interesting stylistic matchup with 2 grapplers there slugging it out on the feet. But that's going to be a really great contest. I was impressed with Shavkat's performance. A funnier note in this one, though, was after the fight, Belal Muhammad tried to enter the cage, and security, apparently didn't know who he was. Joe Rogan saying, "Guys, that's the champ. Let him in." What'd you make of that, Eddie? You probably couldn't hear it while you were on the stream, but a funny moment there.
So okay. So when I do fight companions, I mute myself when they announce decisions. I like to hear what they tell the commentators or when tell Rogan or DC whoever's up there in the post fight interview. And so I got to hear it. And he's like, "Oh, security doesn't know he's a champion." So here's the thing. This is from Cade Morehouse. Cageside press his own Cade Morehouse. Apparently, the man who was holding him back wasn't security. It was somebody else, someone that I think works for the UFC, whatever. And so it's just a confusing thing. Okay, but the damage is done. It doesn't matter whether people know that man's security or not. Belal Muhammad got clowned. Conor McGregor got on whatever they call notes or voices, whatever the hell they call it on
hilarious
on Instagram. It just burst out laughing. He's like, they
Hilarious.
don't know who you are. I'm not surprised, motherfucker. Like, it was the funniest. I had to clip that thing because it was so funny to me.
I retweeted it. He was sloppy, drunk. You could tell.
Oh, dude, he was gone. But it made me laugh so hard because I'm just like, man, Bilal been trying for such a long time to just be almost like accepted by fight fans and by fighters. And then this is not even his control. It's not
and he shows up in a sweatsuit. I'm from Chicago. I want to like Bilal Muhammad. I want to love Bilal Muhammad. He shows up in a sweatsuit, not really looking like the champ. You know, you got guys in there with suits on. You got to dress like the champ. You got to act like the champ. You know, when you're just acting like a normal guy with the baseball hat and the sweatsuit on, it's like, how can they differentiate you from, you know, somebody else? But I understand he is the champion. It's their job kind of to know who the champion is. But I just wish Bilal Muhammad would, you know, maybe act like have a little bit more of a presence. But it was sad because his nickname's Remember the Name, and Joe kind of clowned him, but nobody knows who he was. But
everyone forgot.
That is kind of what we have for the co-main event there. As far as Ian Machado Gary's concerned, who would you like to see him fight next? Like I said, I don't see the stock dropping for Ian Machado Gary. A tremendous striker, and obviously showed great takedown defense in this one.
Well, again, if you disregard Shavkat possibly being injured, Ian's stock went up. Even in a loss, it went up. He didn't get knocked out. He didn't get dominated. He didn't get ragdolled like we all thought he would. Like he held his own and actually gave some back, right? So his stock went up, whether or not you believe the knee injury thing. Who you give him next? Let's see who comes out this weekend. We got Colby Covington. He's been calling out Colby Covington. Colby been, been on his bike.
I like that a lot.
Well, he's been, Colby's been talking all that stuff like, oh, who is this guy? He ain't done nothing. I ain't done nothing. Blah, 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 blah. You can say it all you want to Colby. The problem is you ain't done much lately either. And you're fighting Buckley and UFC Tampa in a fight that I don't think is gonna, is really like set up for you to dominate Buckley. So relax, okay? But at the same time, that's the fight I want to see. Ian Gary, Colby Covington. Maybe we can get crazy. Do Ian Kamaru Usman? Ian came out saying that Kamaru.
I think Ian and Buckley would be an interesting matchup as well.
That could be interesting.
That's two athletic guys. Probably keep it on the feet, and somebody's gonna go to sleep in that one.
Yeah, and I wonder if Ian would do that. Buckley's what, 9th, 8th, whatever it is, ranked. So he's in top 10.
If he wins this weekend, he's going to be in probably the doorstep of the top 5.
That might be the fight. I think maybe Ian against the winner. Ian against the winner this weekend, and then the winner gets a title shot against the winner. Maybe a title shot against the winner of Shavkat and Bilal. What is Leon Edwards doing? He's booked, isn't he? Or he's allegedly booked. We don't know who.
Who? Leon Edwards?
Yeah, I think Leon leaked that he's going to be on UFC London or headlining, but I'm not 100% sure if they announced the opponent. But that would be another possibility.
I want to see Carlos Praetos eventually get fast-tracked up here as well.
Give him one more fight. Give him one more fight. But I agree. He's on his way. Dude, that kid's a savage. But give him one more fight. I know he missed out. Randy Brown missed out on that fight. Mm-hmm. And probably beat Neil Magny, who's a very durable. He's like the gatekeeper 170. He beat the crap out of the gatekeeper. So
and we're going to talk about that performance from Randy Brown later in the show. I thought that was a terrible decision as well, which leads us right into this next topic because there's one common variable here between both of the terrible decisions, and that is that Judge Adelaide Bird was on the deciding factor of both of them. Adelaide Bird, for fight fans, is known for being the woman who scored the contest 118-110 for Canelo Alvarez in that first meeting with him and Gennady Golovkin, which resulted in the contest being a draw. So, she is historically known for her bad scorecards. Gets put in here in a title or in a fight with potential title implications down the road. In the contest, Volkov making a late career resurgence here was going to be his 5th win in a row. If you break this down round by round, I don't see how there's any way that someone can score this fight for Ciryl Gane. The 3rd round was completely controlled by Volkov, had the takedown and almost 5 minutes of complete control time in that one. The 2nd round, he had a spinning back fist. We don't normally see spinning back fists at the heavyweight division. He rocked Ciryl Gane in that one and controlled most of that round as well. I don't remember one distinguishable strike that Ciryl Gane landed throughout the entire contest on my recollection. I only watched it once. It was on pay-per-view. Can't really go back and watch them. but I don't remember a significant moment from Ciryl Gane at all. It was just astonishing to me when they read the scorecards. And even Ciryl Gane's own coach, Ferdinand Lopez, was like astonished behind him that his fighter had won. When the opposing coach is astonished that his fighter has won, there's a serious mistake. And I know that I'm only looking at Adelaide Byrd in this situation, and there was another judge there. But when you do this twice in one night, there has to be a serious talking to. You know, I mean, we've got jobs. We can't go to work and mess up twice in one day and not be like, hey, what's going on, man? Like, what was going on with this performance today? This has to be checked, and she's done this in big title fights in other sports as well. I don't really want to see her again. I don't want to see her, especially on a pay-per-view. Put her at the Apex, put her on the prelims or something. I don't know, but any fight that has any real ramifications in the rankings, I think this woman needs to have about a 2-year, 3-year sabbatical and not be around whatsoever.
First of all, Adelaide Byrd messed up twice on Saturday and dozens of times throughout the years. I mean, everyone knows her name, and it's not for a good thing, right? Do you know the name Pat Lumval?
No, I don't.
Pat Lumval was the commission member for the Nevada State Athletic Commission that got so offended. Nick Diaz kept saying, I plead the fifth to every single one of the questions when he was in front of them to talk about his anyway, she's the one that pushed she wanted a lifetime ban for Nick Diaz. And the other commissioners look at her like she was crazy. Like, dude, they had to talk her down to 5 freaking years, right? Byrd is in that category for me. People that do not belong in anywhere near a sport, especially not a combat sport, but anywhere near a sport, to have such crappy judgment, to clearly not understand what you are watching over and over and over again is just insane. That these fighters, their livelihoods, their careers are literally in the hands of an incompetent person, very, very incompetent person. So I know, and you know, during the fight campaign that I was doing on Saturday, I started getting the comments, "Oh, UFC, you need to get rid of you know what the hell is UFC doing? They need to get rid of these judges, stuff like that." Folks, it is commission. It is the commission. And funny enough, you can go to their website and they have an email you can actually complain to. Please go to that and start sending crazy emails about Adelaide Byrd and all the crappy judges. All right, because man, there's a lot of bad ones, but dude, she takes cake.
There is a lot of bad ones. And I have a quick story. Douglas Crosby, remember when he had the 50-45 scorecard for Danny Sabatello, and then the next night scored it for Patty Pimblett versus Jared Gordon? That was the first ever event I ever covered as a journalist. Yeah. I was there at the Sabatello versus Stotts scorecard when he went 50-45 and the other judges went the other way. That was not as bad as what Adelaide Byrd did in this fight. I'm telling you right now, Danny Sabatello had 15 minutes of control time in a however long that fight was, 25-minute fight. Ciryl Gane, as I said, I can't remember a single thing he did. He was controlled on the ground. He was outpointed on the feet. He was rocked on the feet in round 2. This was a terrible decision. And historically, if you want to look at it, I don't certainly think it's as bad as GSP versus Johnny Hendricks. That takes the cake for me all time, especially with big stakes on the line. But this was just really bad. And you got to feel bad for Volkov, who we're going to talk about. Dana White kind of consoled him after the match, told him, you got fucked, man. He's like, they fucked you. And Volkov, I think there was a little bit of a language barrier there, but he doesn't. He said he's going to make it right. Dana said he's going to make it right, and that probably means financially. I don't think Volkov really cares about the financial aspect of it. I think that he cares that his career was just derailed. He's going to the back of the queue to fight. Who knows? Curtis Blades. He's going to fight guys, again for the second time, to have to come back and maybe get an opportunity at Tom or somebody down the line. This was a career derailer for Alexander Volkov, and I really hope Dana does. I've only seen this done one time with Dana White, and that's when Jose Aldo lost a very close split decision, and I think it was against Marlon Moraes. And he was actually the one who was granted the title opportunity the next fight instead of Moraes or whoever that was that he had that split decision victory over. I hope that they can do something like that for Volkov, and I know the rankings are going to have him below Ciryl Gane. I know the outcome is going to say that Ciryl Gane has a victory over him, but I hope he gets a bigger fight out of this than Ciryl Gane does, because I think he deserves it.
Yeah, no, and you know, funny you mentioned Sabatello, right? What has Sabatello done since that loss? You know
It derailed his career. He'd be a world champ. He would have been a world champ.
He's 1-2-1 since that fight. Okay, it's terrible. It was honestly, again, derails. It derails careers. Real quick, we got a couple comments here from Devin. What up, Devin? My boy. Gon did land one good shot in round 2, but yeah, Volkov got shafted. The UFC will likely treat this like a win. I hope so. And the UFC isn't a meritocracy. God, I can't talk tonight. Though, especially at heavyweight. I wouldn't be surprised if they match Volkov like he won. 100%. I'm with that.
Yeah, that's what I hope too, Devin. I hope that they match him up in a bigger fight than Ciryl Gane in his next one. And, you know, hopefully that's kind of what Dana's talking about when he says he can get him back. But, I mean, I thought that Volkov won this contest and it wasn't really close. I thought the Randy Brown-Bryan battle contest was a lot closer than this one was. But at the end of the day, Ciryl Gane gets the victory by split decision and will be moving up the heavyweight rankings.
Yeah, it's sad. It's just sad. Overall sad. And what was I gonna say about that? Oh, real quick on Alexander Volkov, the move to Vegas I think he's with Nixick, right?
I don't know who he was with. I don't know who he was training with. I know he was with the Russian top team there for a little bit, but I don't know if he was training here in the States or not. But,
now he lives in Vegas. The move to Vegas clearly has paid dividends for him. It's massive.
Yeah, I mean, he's looked great. I mean, over the last 4 fights, this has been like I said, this has been a career resurgence for Volkov. He's never looked better, even in his days in Bellator, even in his first UFC run when he got, stopped by Lewis. He's never looked better than what he's looked in coming in. And I thought he looked fantastic in the fight this weekend. Beats a guy who just beat him just a few years ago, and does it, in impressive fashion. In my opinion, he controlled him in round 3 and for 5 minutes, and he's predominantly a striker, so he showed new aspects of his game, and I thought he did well on the feet too. Unfortunate for Volkov, but he gets the loss there. But moving along, we had an interesting matchup between Bryce Mitchell and Kron Gracie, two jiu-jitsu players that we got a lot of jiu-jitsu in this one. Gracie really pulled guard in the first, second, and third rounds, and Mitchell countered it in the third round, putting a forearm to his face and landing on top of him, slamming him to the mat, and then hitting him with another elbow and knocking him out unconscious. I got a couple thoughts in this one, Eddie. I don't really know what this means for Bryce Mitchell. They threw him, as we were talking about it last week, to probably the guy who has the least dangerous stand-up in the division. I don't know what this means for him in terms of the rankings. If he moves up to number 10 or number 12 or number 11 or something like that, he's going to be fighting another killer along the lines of where he was last time with Josh Emmett. I'd like to see get back in the octagon. It hasn't fought since the loss to or since the win to Bryce Mitchell. Goes in and hasn't fought since then, so I want to see him back again. But Bryce Mitchell, I don't really know where he goes from here in terms of the rankings, because you're going to have to give him a ranked guy based on where he's at. I don't think he can keep fighting these unranked guys on losing streaks. There's going to be guys calling him out and wanting his spots. And there's valuable guys like Gene Silva in the division who need an opportunity at someone in the rankings. So as far as this match is concerned, I thought that Kron Gracie, again, we know the book with him. He's one-dimensional, a great jiu-jitsu practitioner, almost had an armbar and a triangle in the second round. Made things interesting for a little bit. But Bryce Mitchell, you got me, Eddie?
Yeah, I got you.
My camera is froze for.
Oh, you're good. You guys just
okay.
Internet.
But yeah, Kron Gracie had a little bit of a submission threat there in the second round, but Bryce Mitchell countered the guard pull in the third and knocked him out. What do you think of this one? And were you impressed by this performance from Bryce Mitchell?
For Bryce Mitchell, no, and it's not his fault. Does that make sense? Dude, every single time he got close, Kron pulled guard over and over. And I've been training in jiu-jitsu for a while now, and I've competed and everything. And there's always the jokes about guard pullers, and you just make fun of them, whatever, because they don't want to shoot for takedowns. And it's a legitimate technique in jiu-jitsu. Don't get it twisted. It's funny to make fun of guard pullers and all that, but it's a legitimate technique. In MMA, what the hell are we doing? Like, he got taken down and just hugged him. Now, Kron Gracie has crazy grip. He has crazy strength. I mean, farm boy strength, straight up, for lack of a better term. And so he was able to keep Bryce's posture broken for the most part. Bryce had to fight like hell to posture up just to land anything. He actually, at some point, he just ended up, giving in on just like little short shots of the body and then like slicing it, or, those slip elbows that you try to get when you're in too close and they won't let you, sit up. And so it's, I don't know, it's too much. It's, how do you put it? The single, okay, yeah, the one-dimensional fighter in the UFC has not been successful since Ronda Rousey. And that was a long time ago.
Which leads us into our next kind of topic on this fight. And this might make a lot of martial arts fans mad. Has the sport passed the Gracie family?
Ooh. Which
we look at Neiman in the PFL. Neiman. We see Crone here in the UFC. I don't see much success. And since they've had a viable title contender, it's been almost generations. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I think the sport may have passed the Gracies. If you look at the Nurmagomedov family, they've been able to adapt and have found more success in the modern era than the Gracie family has. I think there might be a new leading family as far as mixed martial arts history is concerned.
I think we need to talk about MMA the way we should be talking about the NBA, for example. Okay. Everyone's talking about the GOAT, Michael Jordan. Is LeBron there? Kobe, where's Kobe's place? I think we need to go into eras, right? You can take my Jordan's the best of all time, great, but he had his era. We had the Kobe era where he was the greatest on the planet. We had the LeBron era, which is ridiculously long, and he had his part, right? We had the Gracie era, and the Gracie era ended a long time ago. And so in MMA, because we don't have teams, right? There's no teams. There's not a lot of loyalty. Careers are short. Fans are incredibly fickle, and I mean, if you think fans are fickle in like other sports where there's like bandwagon fans and all those nutty people, in fighting, it's even more fickle. One little thing could happen, and suddenly every single fan that loved you hated you. One little, you could give up an opinion, and you could turn all the fans against you, right? It's that kind of deal. We need to talk about it like eras. The Gracie era is over. We do not have a Gracie that is so dominant the way Hickson was, and even he'll tell you he didn't fight MMA, he fought Bellator, right? Neiman, for as good as he is not great. Crone clearly either needs a lot of work or needs to just stick to jiu-jitsu, right? And I mean, who else is there? There's really nobody else. Right?
Yeah, I mean, Roger really didn't do it in the early 2000s, but he was obviously one of the greatest jiu-jitsu.
Henry didn't fight. I don't think he fought MMA. Henry didn't fight MMA, right?
But that's kind of what I'm saying. They've stayed one-dimensional as the sports evolved. Yeah. And, if you look at some of these other families, or, the Nurmagomedov family, they've been able to adapt and kind of see where the sport's going and adjust to it. Yeah. I'm a little surprised that they didn't get Crone and Neiman, more tight with their hands when they were younger, or train them, to maybe go into mixed martial arts instead of just jiu-jitsu. But, I think that maybe the sport has passed the one-dimensional fighter on.
Sure. No, and it's real quick on the Gracies. I mean, we know the story about how the UFC came about and all that. They wanted, it was the Gracies. Yeah. But the Gracies wanted to prove that jiu-jitsu could be all, right? Regardless of size, weight, strength, all that kind of stuff. I will tell you right now, having competed plenty, okay, size and strength fucking mattered, all right? And MMA, having a well-rounded game fucking matters big time. You cannot pull guard over and over and over and expect to win anymore. You're not going to have all these guys that come in and UFC 1 get taken down, right? And you're on their back, you're on their knee bar, you're on the arm bar. You don't have these guys going, "What is this sorcery? I don't know what's going on." You don't have that anymore. It's over. We are way past that. Okay, so yeah, dude, has it passed by? Sure. Right, we're in a different era when the Nurmagomedov era is we want to put it, and it's one of those things that we kind of have to accept as fans, really. Real quick, we got Devin T. He jumped into Bryce's arms like a kid seeing his dad returning from war. God damn! All right, boy, have at it. And Nurmagomedov is the Gracie 2.0. There it is. Like right now, if we want to name it the Nurmagomedov era, absolutely. Who's next? Yeah. I don't know. But that's the fun part about sports. Everything evolves. Everyone adapts.
Yep, absolutely. Now, I hope Bryce Mitchell gets back in there in relative fashion and can get a schedule back to him after suffering that defeat last year. Mm-hmm. Moving on, we have Doho Choi had a really impressive knockout victory over Nate Landwehr in the third round, opening this pay-per-view card. I picked Landwehr in this one, and I was dead wrong. I thought Landwehr would be able to take him to the ground and impose his ground game on Doho Choi. But Doho Choi, since the 3-year layoff, has looked tremendous, and he's come back, really crisp with his striking, very fast, fluid. His speed really surprised me in this one, and it looked like it surprised Landwehr as well. Landwehr was tough enough to survive to the third round, but really took a beating in this one, Eddie. Is Doho Choi on his way back to contention?
I certainly hope so. I mean, he lost, 2 years of his career? Because he had to go do military. He had to do military service. And so in South Korea, it's required for young men to serve, I think, 2 or 3 years, something like that, in the military. So he lost out on that. But he was coming off 3 losses in a row, so he came at a decent time, right? So if you can imagine the timing of that, right, that sabbatical or that time away, okay? Mind you, he lost to Cub Swanson, Jeremy Stevens, and Charles Jourdain. No, none of them are scrubs whatsoever. So comes back. I think his first fight got canceled. Something, I don't know if he got hurt, someone else got hurt. He didn't fight till 23, and it was Kyle Nelson, and he did. I think that one went to a draw. Like it's been a weird one, but 2 finishes in a row, right? I think both TKOs. I think maybe the Aljo one might have been Bill Aljo one might have been a knockout, but I think he's finally coming back. And he's coming back at what age? Was in his 20s, like mid-20s, something like that. No, he's 30.
41. What is he?
He's 33 probably, I think. So, 33 I think is what it is. Unless because I read his bio the other day. I think he was 33. So anyway, he still looks like a 25-year-old, and he moves like one. So I think he's in his prime. He's in probably the middle of his prime, maybe closer to the end than anything. I think the time is now. That's why he called out Bryce Mitchell. And honestly with you, I know a lot of people are thinking Bryce should fight up. I'm not mad if Bryce takes that fight. I think that'd be a great fight.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great fight as well. And you're correct. I just checked 33 years of age for Doho Choi. To me, what sticks out is his body looks tremendously more, not in shape, but it looks like he's added muscle. He looks like he went from a boy to a man kind of in the last 2 years that he was off. It potentially could have been due to that military service. But I think if he fights Bryce Mitchell right now, he knocks him out in the first 2 rounds. Doho Choi has come back in these last 2 fights and looked absolutely terrific and looks right now in form just like he did when he went into that Cub Swanson war that went into the UFC Hall of Fame. So great for Doho Choi making a comeback into the UFC, and we hope that no USADA Choi, Dev exactly. Yeah, his body looks just he just looks a little better, man. Could have been due to the no USADA.
Yeah, no, it was a fight. He looks good. He looks good for sure.
All right, but then we move on to Dominic Reyes and Anthony Smith, 2 former title challengers. Both of these guys have losses to John Jones. But Dominic Reyes gets the job done here by TKO. When we were breaking down this fight, we were talking and saying that maybe Dominic Reyes has a little bit more left in the tank. Maybe he wants to prove that he can still compete at the highest level. I don't know if he can still compete at the highest level, but it was certainly enough to get the job done against Anthony Smith, who unfortunately had to overcome obstacles outside of the cage heading into this one. I believe that he had the loss of his head coach tragically, which probably weighed significantly on the mind of Anthony Lionheart Smith. But nonetheless, Dominic Reyes gets the job done here over Anthony Smith. What'd you make of this one, Eddie? And did anything really stick out to you from this performance given the circumstance?
So I think everybody knew ahead of time about what happened. One of Anthony's coaches, his best friend, right, passed. I think everyone knew it. At media day, what stuck out to me was he said, "I don't really care about winning. Because I just want to get punched in the face. I just want to feel something." During the fight, Dominic Reyes said in his post-fight scrum, he said, "Dude, he just said to hit me. He had his arms down. He just hit me." And if you saw during the fight, Anthony was walking around with his arms down, getting smacked in the face, getting beat up. He cried on the way to the. I mean, look, everything was there. It was either therapeutic as hell or a complete disaster. I'm not 100% sure. All I knew is the entire time I just felt bad for Anthony, not because he was getting his ass, because he was. But because all the stuff he was going through emotionally and mentally, his heart was broken, and he still went in there. And he was getting beat up by one of the best 205ers that could have been a champ, probably should have been a champ already, but still get beat up like that. That I could not focus on Dom's performance because of that. Dom had a great performance, no question about it. But the guy who was fighting wasn't fighting back. The guy who was fighting himself. the entire time, and he lost against himself. So, after the fight, takes the gloves off, and everyone's like, "Oh, is this it?" And he didn't retire on the spot. He's got to think about it. But man, I think it's time. I think because he said, he goes, "I don't know how many times I could do this without my friend," and it's just that's a hard one. Maybe comes back one more. Dedicated to his friend and everything, goes out on a win and calls it. But man, he's got a great gig, right? And let's be honest, 205 isn't very deep, right? But in this not very deep 205, does Anthony Smith contend for a title?
No, and I don't think Dominic Reyes does either.
Not yet.
So, and as you were saying, maybe he has one more. I think that they could potentially do a show in the Midwest, maybe put something in, I don't know if Omaha, Nebraska has had anything in a while, or so that's where Anthony's from, Nebraska. Yeah. If there could be some, Midwest show that he could end his career on in St. Louis, Kansas City, somewhere around there. I think that's a good way for Anthony to go out. This might leave a bad taste in his mouth given the circumstance. Oh, yeah. Maybe if he had a couple months to sit and digest the loss, not only of the fight, but what he suffered outside the cage. He can come back and put his best foot forward and put together a little bit better performance. But for Dominic Reyes, we're going to find out a lot in his next fight. I don't know who it's going to be against. We just had a matchup of Carlos Olberg and Jan Blachowicz get announced today, which is some exciting news. I believe that fight is going to be taking place in March. But as far as this fight's concerned, I think Dominic Reyes deserves somebody in the rankings. How about Nikita Krylov? Nikita Krylov is a guy who I have always really talked about. He lost to Paul Craig, and that was a triangle loss that he had there, but he was looking good and surging into that contest, and it's kind of looked good since. So I think that would be a good matchup. Two athletic southpaws going at it, primarily strikers as well. Moving on in this one, we get to Vicente Luque and Thimba Garimbo. Vicente Luque turns back the clock in this one, gets the Anaconda choke submission in round one. And Eddie, my thoughts on this, I texted you as it happened. Thank God this wasn't Nick.
I know.
Because it'd have been real ugly.
Oh my God, dude. Man, how he came. Look, in the post fight, he told reporters, and Gabriel Gonzalez was there for Cageside Press, but he told reporters, he said that on during training, during camp, the Gilbert Burns told him, "Hey, we need, we love how you're growing, you're getting better. We need the old Vicente Luque back for this one." God damn, did he bring him back? Have we seen Vicente be this aggressive? Not just, dude, it was a 51, 52-second fight. Like how he came out aggressive against an up-and-coming, very aggressive guy himself. And he didn't listen to all the stuff. Thimba Garimbo likes to talk, right? And it's not disrespectful talk. Thimba Garimbo is pumping himself up, right? Talking things. What does he call it? Not the secret, but like
self-confidence.
Thank you, self-confidence. But it's also like manifesting. He likes to manifest stuff, right? So he speaks it. It happens. So good for him. But he was talking about after I get this win, this and that, whatever. And Vicente just earmuffs. He's like, all right, cool. Let's see what happens. And put him to freaking sleep. Thimba was out. And so, in fact, it was so bad, dude. After they announced the decision, Themba didn't even look at him. He gave him like a fist bump and walked out because you can imagine how bad that got him. But
knocked him down on the feet and then choked him out on the ground, and in all inside of 1 minute.
Oh yeah, exactly. And so again, same thing. The second the text you sent me was the first thing I thought of as soon as the fight ended. I'm like, thank God it wasn't Nick, dude. Can you imagine Nick Diaz like passed out? Right on the canvas like that. Now I don't know if you get Nick Diaz in jiu-jitsu and the jiu-jitsu aspect. I don't think you choke him out. I think Nick's really good on the ground. Maybe on the feet, he gets knocked out.
That right hand he landed would have put anybody down. And from there, you don't know where you're at. And
at the very least, it puts Nick on the ground. So, and Nick has a lot of issues he's got to work on, and I don't think it's one of the, I think it's those issues, and I don't want to get into it because we're going to get into a whole other segment in terms of just talking about that. But I think I don't want to see Nick fight again personally, and certainly not against a guy like Luque. But yeah, dude, I don't know. I think Luque is basically put everyone I know. It's like, hey, I'm back. Call me out if you want to, because everyone calls up, not everyone, but a lot of people call up Vicente Luque, and it's like, call me out if you want to. I'm back.
Yeah, I like Vicente Luque. I think they go ahead and throw him to a name. Somebody here in the rankings, maybe, and they don't normally match up two Brazilian fighters against each other, but Ezekiel Zaleski dos Santos and him, I think, would be a fun matchup on the feet.
I would like to see him He fight Wonder Boy yet? I wouldn't mind Wonder Boy. They're not gonna give him Gilbert Burns.
No,
not Prates, because I think that'd be a hell of a firefight between him and Prates.
That would.
Michael Morales, maybe.
That'd be interesting too. You got Renat Fakhretdinov on there, but he's not really a name, but you kind of probably just take him down.
Yeah, but Renat was like a win away from being a name. That dude was dominant until he ran into forgot who it was anyway. But yeah,
Dos Santos. So Zaleski Dos Santos. Yeah,
that's right. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, dude. But again, another guy that could have a career resurgence right here, like Volkov did.
Yeah. I mean, he looks good, and you want to talk about No USADA Choi? Luke looks tremendous there and looked great on fight night as well. So moving on down the card here, we had Movsar Evloev and Aljamain Sterling. Movsar Evloev stays undefeated in this one. Gets it done against the former champion Aljamain Sterling. Movsar Evloev, 29-28 on all three judges' scorecards. Really what stuck out to me in this one was the total strikes, 136 for Movsar, in the 50s for Aljamain Sterling. Sterling looked good in this one at times. He reversed Movsar on the ground, and for people who appreciate jiu-jitsu, there were some very entertaining grappling exchanges in this one. What'd you make of this one, Eddie? And how impressed were you with Evloev, who again wins by decision? We haven't really seen him put a statement win together yet in the UFC, but another decision win and keeps the train rolling.
Real quick, did you think that decision was right?
I thought it was a lot closer than what people were saying online. Yeah. I thought that on the ground, Aljamain Sterling did enough to reverse positions at times to maybe even win him rounds. It wasn't like Evloev was going for submissions on the ground, but he was hitting him with more shots against the cage and in the clinch and also in the ground and pound. It looked like Aljamain was really worried about more position, and it looked like Evloev at times was landing some punches when, instead giving up position to Aljamain. But what do you think? Did you have it for Aljamain? I thought I had it probably 29-28 for Movsar, but I thought it was razor thin and could have been a split decision.
So I always put this caveat on every single time I say something like this. When I'm watching the fights, I'm either live tweeting or I'm doing a fight companion. I do not score fights as they go, but I go over overall feeling of the fight, and it felt to me like Aljo should have gotten the nod on it. And I'm not impressed with Movsar. He did what he always does. He didn't show me he improved anything. He didn't show me that he should be a guy who should be championing him to go for a title. He's going to be one of those guys going to have to put together like a 12-fight win streak before he even sniffs a title shot because of the fact that he just does the same old shit all the time. Yep,
he's not a finisher, and that's unfortunate for him. I think he's a great talent when you look at his grappling and what he's able to do with his striking, being such a dominant grappler. He's very talented, but he hasn't really put together that dominant win that, the UFC can put on some highlight reel or hype package or the UFC countdown show to get fans excited for his next performance, unfortunately. And that's probably why this fight was on the prelims.
Yeah, dude. Mind you, this fight should have been on the main card. I mean, obviously, whatever, rearview mirror, whatever. I haven't already watched it and everything, but should have been on the main card. It wasn't, but again, Movsar ain't shown me anything that tells me he needs to go big fight for a title. He does. He hasn't. To me, nothing. And I think he has a better shot at getting Diego Lopez in a rematch than he has getting a shot title.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say Diego Lopez has, in my opinion, deserved the title shot more than Movsar Evloev since their meeting. But if they want to put that fight together, I'd certainly be a fan of that. I think Diego Lopez might get the job done if it's 5 rounds as well.
Yeah, no, Diego's a savage. He's a dog, and he's good everywhere, not just on the ground.
So back again to talking about Adelaide Byrd. In this next contest, we have Randy Brown. Kind of got a win taken away from him, in my opinion, against Bryan Battle. It wasn't as egregious as the Volkov versus Gane fight, but nonetheless, there were boos coming down inside the arena as the judges' scorecards were read. 29-28 for 2 judges and 28-29 for Brown. 1 judge went his way. I had Brown winning this one. Listen, when you're Bryan Battle and you push this one up against the cage and you don't really want to be in that space where Randy Brown is in the kickboxing, so you force it to the fence, and then Brown trips you on the fence and takes you down. Mind you, the only takedowns that were really landed in this fight were by Brown. he was not initiating the grappling. Brown was beating him on the feet, forcing Battle to initiate the grappling, and then beating him in the grappling and taking him down. Now, did he stay on the fence way too long for portions of the fight? Absolutely. And this is kind of one of those things when you've watched the career of Randy Brown annoys you as a fight fan because you see the potential of what Randy Brown can be. You see the trips that he landed on Battle, the lightning fast jab, the fluidity with his striking. But at times he sits there and is lackadaisical. And we saw against Jack Della Maddalena when he got backed up to the fence, he had problems, different problems in this one, also backing up to the fence, was controlled by Battle for a large portion of this one. But I don't see really how Bryan Battle won this fight. I'd like to see your opinion on it, Eddie. But I had Randy Brown winning this one. Only guy to land the takedowns. Really found a home for the jab throughout the fight, and I thought he forced Battle to grapple with him.
Look, I had Randy Brown winning. I didn't have Bryan Battle doing. He didn't do much, honestly, overall, right? But Randy is too. I don't know how to put it. Not full of himself. He doesn't smell. It's like he's smelling his own farts and think it's great. He's too damn confident. Does that make sense? Like
I feel like there's no sense of urgency because he relies so much on his talent. He knows how talented he is, so it doesn't force him to like go after. He's never really the aggressor in fights. You always see the same thing in Randy Brown fights. He's circling around on the outside, using his length and athleticism, which is great. That's certainly a way for him to win. But like you were saying, I don't see the aggressiveness out of him or the sense of urgency.
Randy likes a clean fight. He likes a technical fight. Bryan Battle has never had a technical fight in his life. And so it's one of those things where it's like he fought a guy that's going to be ugly. He's going to be in his face. He's going to try and make it a brawl. He's trying to make this as bloody as possible. And Randy Brown's like guys like, 1, 2, turn the corner, use the footwork, foot inside, foot outside, find the angle, that kind of thing, keep it clean and everything. And when Bryan Battle got in his face and everything, he didn't really either meet him or he didn't do anything to force Bryan to fight his type of fight. And I think that probably helped Battle win. But overall, I know Randy Brown won the fight to me. And but it wasn't as, in my opinion, as bad as the Volkov loss, right? Yeah. So he's not going to get Dana going up to Randy Brown like, hey, man, we got you. No. Bro, you lost. What you going to do? So yeah, and on the other hand, why do fighters turn down fights when their opponent misses weight? And miss a pound, okay. They miss 2 pounds, all right, what the fuck, dude? But all right. You go up, miss by 4, okay? There's a reason fighters say, nah, hell no. We're not doing that, right? There's a reason for it. Now, does maybe Randy Brown was like, nah, I need this money, dude. I just paid to this camp and all stuff. I completely understandable, right? But there's a reason fighters turn down fights when their opponent misses weight by 1,000 pounds, right? Because it's already screwed from the get-go. So, in my opinion, this is kind of a nothing burger for both guys. Like the win doesn't do anything for Bryan Battle, in my opinion, and the losses doesn't really do anything for Randy Brown either. You might as well call this fight a non-contest, no contest never happened type of deal to me.
Yeah, and I mean Bryan Battle did win the second round. He landed a big knee in the clinch. He did definitely have a definitive round in the contest, no doubt about it. It wasn't like it was some robbery or something. I just thought that Randy Brown won the fight, and it's just. Coincidentally, someone had the descending scorecards in those 2 contests, which is unfortunate. But regardless of who it was, I'd have called it out. So, I think that judging is something that kind of gets turned a blind eye to. We talk a lot about the refereeing. When the referees make bad decisions in the past, we've seen them really get called out, but there's not a lot of flack coming the judges' way, at least, coming from the promotion.
Yeah, no, and it's one of those things. It's like I was so irritated by the weight miss that I didn't give a shit whether he won or not. Honestly,
yeah, that's another question really to end this fight with Battle. He did miss weight. He didn't look the best. It wasn't like he had some knockout thrilling victory. You said it was kind of a nothing burger for Battle. Does this decline his stock? Former Ultimate Fighter winner. Do fight fans really not want to see him compete as much as they did coming into this one against Randy Brown?
To casual Bryan Battle fans, it didn't do anything bad. It just helped him. He won. He went to fight Randy Brown, whatever. To people that pay attention, it didn't help him at all. In fact, I think I'm with you. It tanked him. He's going to have to come in next fight on weight ready to go and looking good. And I know he said in the post fight, he was like, oh, it was the quickest turnaround I ever had. And, personal stuff was happening in camp. And, and I heard, what did he say? He heard something. He had an injury and couldn't train for him for a bit, had a cut here and there. We get it, but no one's camp is ever clean. Anyone that just tells you, oh, camp was awesome, I'm 100% healthy, horse shit. That's not even a thing. That's not possible. It's never happened not one time. And you can say they want to, but end of the day, it sounds like excuses to me. Like, you signed the contract, you're a professional fighter, make the weight. To me, I have no pity for anyone that misses weight, right? Like, Tracy Cortez, right, comes in, misses weight, goes to the back, chops her hair off, comes back and makes weight, right? Now, we can get into semantics of it, whether that's even necessary, but still, the point is there, is that she was a professional. And women do not cut their hair lightly. That is not a light decision whatsoever. She chopped that thing up to, like, Dora height, okay? So, it's just how bad do you really want to be professional? And again, did stuff happen in camp? Sure. Personal stuff happen? Absolutely. But come on, dude. When
everybody's going through it. Everybody's injured. Everybody's fighting high-level guys in their training camps and getting hard sparring in. So, if you sign a contract to it, I feel like you got to come in on weight. Randy Brown proposed that maybe they need to up the fine percentage from 30 to 50%, and that would stop people. I think, if nothing, that would make people pull out sooner. They wouldn't risk it, the opportunity, like, maybe I can make it, maybe I can't, and then you don't get the road work in and miss weight. But it would probably incentivize people to pull out of the fight sooner so they weren't penalized financially. But that's really all we have for is there anything else on UFC 310 you'd like to talk about here before we move along to next weekend?
I need Chris Weidman to retire. Like today, retire. Yeah. I need Chase Hooper to keep working his hands, because holy shit, that was good.
He looked great against Clay Guida.
And someone's got to bring Michael Chiesa back down to earth, because fam. Like, I know you're happy, got your black belt. Congratulations, Michael. That's an awesome, incredible achievement. But that win is not as impressive as you think it is. So just
his last two wins, his Tony win and that win.
Oh, the Tony one was awful. First of all, if you sign to fight Tony Ferguson, shame on you, all right? Shame on you twice. Fuck out of here with that. We cannot be friends if you sign up to fight Tony Ferguson. Not because he's like one of the greatest and most like savage fighters to ever do it, that he's still a fan favorite, even though he's lost like 1,000 in a row, okay? But come on, do you know what you was doing?
You're not fighting him at his best, and you know it.
Fred Kirby and I on Keeper Warriors always talk about the value of wins. That win, zero value, because it was against Tony Ferguson, who's not even a shell of a shell of a shell anymore. Okay, so I'm settled with that shit. But that, and then Kenny Nzechukwu look like a real heavyweight, like a legit heavyweight. He's not gonna win a title, I don't think. But
he can get some of these guys out of here that suck, like the bigger guys. I don't know if he can beat Romanov, but the Parker Porters, the Jared Vanderas, the Jake Colliers.
I want to see Kennedy against this is gonna be terrible, Mick Parkin. And I know Martin Tabor just got paired with him for UFC London, but I want to see. I don't know why the first name I thought of was Mick Parkin, and I know it's odd as shit, and I know 3/4 of the people watching right now have no clue who Mick Parkin is. Look him up, okay? He's a big boy, all right? And I want to see that fight. I don't know why, but that's the name that popped in my head.
Is Muhammad Usman still floating around the heavyweight division?
Oh, he's still in there.
I think that'd be a good one.
Real quick, because you guys see the U of A hat on. Muhammad Usman was a defensive end for the University of Arizona back in the day.
Yeah.
I used to do a podcast for U of A football with Shaquille Richardson, former Pittsburgh Steelers corner, former University of Arizona corner. He told me that when he was a freshman, Muhammad Usman, he was sitting in a seat. He was sitting in Muhammad Usman's seat in the locker room, and Muhammad went behind him, picked him up by his neck like this, and lifted him out of the chair. And it's to this day, I had Dylan Rush interview Muhammad Usman, and I told Dylan, hey, ask him about that story. And so at the end, near the end, he had these quick fire questions. And he goes, Did you pick up Shaquille Richardson, your former teammate Shaquille Richardson, up out of your seat by his neck? And Muhammad, without even like cracks like a slight smile, like, yes. It was the funniest shit. And I'm like, God, you know what? I need to hit up Shaquille and get Muhammad Usman and get him on the show at some point, because holy crap, that'd be hilarious. That'd be hilarious. But yeah, Muhammad Usman would be great choice for that.
Yeah, so that's what we've got for UFC 310. It was I don't want to say it was a lackluster card, but it had its peaks and valleys. So
look, man, 9 finishes and 14 fights. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I think it was great.
Yeah.
Especially for the last fight. It wasn't UFC 300 and it wasn't UFC 303, right? But it was a very entertaining way to end the year as far as pay-per-views go.
If you had to give it a rating out of 10, what would you give it? I'd give it a 7.3.
See, I give it an 8 because I enjoyed it, and mind you, because I'm, we're doing coverage every single UFC card every weekend. This weekend I'm doing it too, but I do coverage the entire day, so my mind isn't just on the fights; it's on production, it's on this, it's on articles, graphics, all kinds of stuff, clips, and so this is one of the few this year where I was actually entertained. I felt entertained while I was doing it. 300 was one, 306 was one for me. But definitely this one was a lot of fun and kind of a chill way to end of the year as far as pay-per-views.
Yeah, I'd have probably met you at an 8, but some of the decisions kind of left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I'm at an 8 is because I don't blame the fighters. I mean, no one does, right? It's the judges' fault.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm just like, I'm gonna pretend like that didn't happen. So, but still.
Yeah. So we've got an interesting UFC fight night this weekend, kind of back-to-back here. No days off for the UFC on this schedule. Colby Covington returns versus Joaquin Buckley. Buckley just beat Nursultan Ruzaboyev in St. Louis. I was at that contest. Buckley looked tremendous in that one. And Covington has kind of been off for an extended period of time. And this was kind of an interesting stylistic matchup. You've got the athletic knockout artist in Joaquin Buckley, who we saw have that highlight reel finish over Impa Kasanganay. This, whatever you guys want to call that, the jumping, spinning wheel kick. But Colby Covington here is going to want to take this fight to the ground, no doubt about it. Is he going to be able to take this fight to the ground is the question of whether he's going to win the fight. When we saw him against Leon Edwards, he did not look good. He looked off in his timing. His takedown attempts looked half-hearted, to say the least. Now, he was saying he had an injury coming into that one, but like we just talked about, everyone's got injuries, and anybody can say that. Now, Colby Covington coming into this one doesn't have the most quality wins on his record when you go back and look at it, but his losses are to top-flight competition. He did get a victory over Jorge Masvidal. He lost twice to Kamaru Usman and then Leon Edwards, both former champions. Do you think he will be able to turn back this level of contender in Buckley, or is Buckley the next thing up in the welterweight division?
Ooh, it's Buckley. I think Buckley could, right, be the next big thing at 170. I just don't think he will. Now, as far as this fight goes, to me, this is, can Colby come to deal with a younger, more athletic, and honestly more powerful fighter, right, than himself and younger? Or can Joaquin Buckley, cardio-wise, last with a guy who puts a ridiculous pace on you for all 5 rounds? That to me is gonna be the question of this fight. I know we've seen Buckley last, go decisions before and all that, but he's a big guy carrying a lot of muscle. It's hard to believe that if Colby is on his game, that Buckley's gonna be able to his gas tank is gonna last. So I think Buckley, and we know Buckley needs a finish. He wants a finish. He always goes for a finish and everything. So to him, this is a massive, massive fight for Buckley. For Covington, this is a massive, massive fight, but mostly because he's irrelevant.
I think his career's on the line in this contest. When you look at what he gets paid, he gets paid like a pay-per-view fighter. And if he goes in here and loses to a guy who's number 9 in the division, and I'm not saying Buckley's a relative unknown. He's been a co-main event in UFC St. Louis and is a tremendous fighter, but someone who certainly isn't of that star power of the guys that he's been fighting previously. If he goes in here and loses to Buckley, where do you go for Colby Covington? It's a long road back to a title if he loses this one, and maybe he never gets back into a top 5 contention if he loses this fight. Certainly with how he looked in his most recent performance. I really think all chips are on the table in this one. For Colby Covington, if he wins this one, he immediately gets a big opportunity again, and everybody knows he's 1 or 2 wins away from a title at any point in time because of his ability to sell fights. But I think the loss is just so dramatic to him that there's really a lot on the table. And when you look at the betting odds in this one, Joaquin Buckley is a massive betting favorite, and you can get Colby Covington. I checked on my lunch break. He was trending around 235, about plus 235, I believe. And that's a massive, massive number for someone who's fought for a world title 3 separate occasions.
Yeah, no, and the thing that what we always talk about is the value of a win, right? Mm-hmm. For Buckley, it's like you said, fighting a guy that's fought for a title twice, 2 or 3 times, whatever it's been, and if he beats him, that's a huge name on his resume. Honestly, that's a huge name. That's the biggest one.
Buckley's 3-1. I just checked it. Buckley's
3-1,
3-1 plus 240 currently for Covington.
I'm gonna put money on Colby. I mean, I'm not on bet, but I would put money on Colby. Like that to me is a bit much. Like I know Colby ain't fought in a minute, but goddamn.
Yeah, I thought it'd be close odds. Like Buckley's never really had like a former title challenger victory or former world champion that he's beaten. Covington normally takes care of these guys in the the middle of the rankings to back end of the top 15. So I think this is really an interesting clash: striker versus grappler. Young guy on the way up versus a guy who's been there and maybe on the slide. So there's a lot on the line in the main event this weekend, and I'm certainly excited for it.
Who are you picking?
Who am I picking? I'm going to go. All right, so you either have to go Buckley knockout or Covington decision, in my opinion, because Covington's not finishing him. He's either going to ragdoll him for 5 rounds and have one of these vintage performances, or Buckley's going to go in there and steamroll him. So, I could sit there and, side with the gambling experts who say that Buckley's 3 times more likely, but I kind of like the strength of schedule of Covington in this one. And I'm going to take him by decision just based off strength of schedule. I think he bounces back and looks better than what he did last time, but I would not be surprised if Buckley gets him out of there in the first round.
Yeah, no, I'm very lightly, very gingerly taking Colby Covington by decision, because we've seen all these guys come out thinking they're going to knock Colby Covington out, and they can't do it. Has anyone knocked him out? Think about it.
Kamaru Usman knocked him out TKO 5th round, their first contest.
Oh, well, 5th round, right? And Kamaru Usman's a fucking beast. So Joaquin Buck is not Kamaru Usman. Right? He doesn't have the same skill set. He's got different skill set. Totally valid. But I just don't see a knockout coming. I got Colby Covington making this kind of boring and slow, and not slow for him in the cage and for Buckley, but in terms of like us watching,
the viewing audience,
yeah, it's not going to be great. I think it's going to go off 5 rounds, and it'll be Colby winning, and make America great again, and give me a title shot, and blah blah blah, all this other bullshit, and no one's going to hear any of it. Yeah,
certainly not discounting the ability of Joaquin Buckley, and if you want to pay attention to the Vegas odds makers, they think he certainly is going to win this contest. But me and Eddie are siding with the experience and strength of schedule of Covington. Moving along to the co-main event here, we have a battle of veterans. This fight would have been great about 5 years ago, but we're going to get it this Saturday. Cub Swanson is taking on Billy Q. You see the records here, 29-14 for Cub Swanson, 18-6 for Billy Q. Both of these guys are adept on the ground, are also good with the hands. Who are you liking in this battle of veterans this weekend?
Cool. Hey, quick question, and you tell me if you know, because I actually looked this up earlier when I was doing my my work, my preparation for this weekend. Did Billy Q call out Cub Swanson?
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't think that he did.
Because guys that call out Cub Swanson end up paying for it. Like Cub Swanson gets any little thing will get him going. Like,
Billy's pretty respectful. I don't remember him doing.
Okay,
that.
Well, if he didn't, good for him, because it's a dumbass thing to do if you're gonna call out Cub Swanson, because Cub takes offense to that, right? And
he's a competitor.
He'll come after you for it. But I mean, it's just a scrap. Both guys like to throw. We saw Billy get put under the freaking octagon against Edson Barbosa a couple years ago in Kansas City, right? And Cub Swanson's one of those guys that can do that kind of thing. To me, it's going to be, does Cub Swanson still have it, and has Billy Q evolved? Because we haven't seen much evolution out of him in the last 4 or 5 fights. So, and I know he'll have Matt Perlow in his corner and all that. I like Cub to come out and prove everybody wrong, and maybe call it. He's always he's a dad. He's got a couple, 2-3 kids, I think it is. And last fight out, we thought it was going to be over. He had his family there with him. We thought it was going to be done. He cried in the cage and all that. Apparently not. So keep it going there, Cub.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about his competitive edge. I think he really wants to go out on a win, and maybe he gets it done this weekend. Billy Q, if he takes this one to the ground, might find a submission victory. But Cub's a hard guy to get out of there, regardless, whether it's the hands or on the ground. He's just a hard guy to finish, a true veteran of the sport. As somebody who's been in the wars and been in there against Jose Aldo and the cream of the crop and been there and done that. So this is going to be a really interesting fight. 2 veterans on the card. I'm going to take Cub Swanson by decision in this one, but it's really a coin flip.
Yeah, I'm taking Cub Swanson decision on that as well.
Yeah.
I know Billy. I don't know how young Billy is, but Billy's a fun guy. You like Billy. Billy's like, yeah, he's a good dude and everything. But when you look at Cub, it's like that guy's a savage. Damn. Okay, so
you think he's a little tougher, a little.
He's rough around the edges. But again, I'm old school, right? I'm 38 years old. All my favorite fighters are rough around the edges, kind of assholes on the side, that kind of thing. And have they'll have that stories of redemption and all that, which Cub Swanson does, and a lot of these. Jared Gordon has an incredible story coming back from rock bottom. And so I like guys like that. Billy Q is kind of one of those kids I was told that he could do whatever he wanted growing up. You can be whatever you want, Billy. Go get it. Like none of us growing up, as us old guys, ever heard that. So it's a different contrast. And I know I'm going completely away from the fight part of it, but to me, stories matter. That's what we're journalists. The story matters to me. So Cub Swanson's story to me is it's great, and he keeps building on it. So I would love to see him get one more. And hopefully get a dub and hopefully put a stamp on it. Will be a health and career.
Yeah, if he gets a win, I hope that the UFC puts together one of those highlight packages like they did. Who did they do that for? Karate Hottie, Michelle Watterson? Was that
Michelle Watterson? Yeah. In the cage. You know what pissed me off is they waited until freaking UFC Macau at 3 in the freaking morning to do one for Stipe. Like, dude, you knew he was retiring in Madison Square Garden. Like, you knew it was over. He said it. Okay. Why didn't you play it then for a giant, massive audience? Why did you wait till that shit pissed me off? That's the kind of stuff that to me is lack of recognition and respect for somebody. I know they don't mean it. I'm sure they didn't mean to disrespect him. They didn't mean to throw his thank you and good luck with the future, whatever, on a card that nobody watched. But damn, it's a terrible missed opportunity right there by the UFC.
So we talked a little bit about this 125-pound division and its lack of depth while breaking down the UFC 310 card. We're going to get a flyweight fight here this weekend between Bruno Silva and Manel Kape. Kape got the loss to Muhammad Mokaev. Needs to kind of get back in the win column here, if he wants to ever get back into title contention again. And he's going to look to do it against Bruno Silva. I've got Kape in this one. I'm going to take him by knockout. I think that he's just a very athletic fighter. He's coming off a loss. He's going to want to get back in there into contention, like I said. And I'm going to take the athleticism and experience of Manel Kape in this one.
I'm taking Manel Kape, but only if he shuts the hell up. And not in disrespect. I'm not telling you shut up, Manel Kape. You have your opinions, great. Have at it. But you talk so damn much, and then when you fight, it doesn't show, like at all, right? Like the fight against Mokaev. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. He did nothing. He did none of that, right? And to me, it's disappointing that his mouth sets him up for that kind of thing to happen. To where again, nobody cares about Manel Kape. Like the guy's charismatic. He's clearly a savage. He can fight like nobody else, and he's disrespectfully hilarious. Okay, in terms of what he says is funny, right? But if your actions are not going to match what you're saying, I don't really care. I'm not going to buy your fight or watch your fight because I'm gonna do this. Yeah, okay, sure. You said that the last 4 times. He didn't do any of that. But I'm with you. He needs, which he does care. This man wants to be champion. He needs this win badly. Like this is one of those where it's like, I know he's not on a losing streak. He only lost his last fight. Totally understandable. Okay. But at 125, with Dana just looking for a reason to cut this division out of here, like he already did once, you need to show up. You need to deliver.
Yeah, I think so too. Now moving on the card here, we don't really have the deepest card in the world, but there's 2 more fights that me and Eddie are going to break down here for us on the main card. The first one is this light heavyweight contest between Vitor Petrino and Dustin Jacoby. Now, Vitor Petrino really disappointed some people in his last contest against Anthony Smith. He was undefeated going into that contest in his home country of Brazil, stuck his neck out while going for a takedown, and was guillotined right after that. Anthony Smith expertly put on the guillotine and took the O from Vitor Petrino in his native country of Brazil. Kind of trying to bounce back here against Dustin Jacoby, who has won some, has lost some, a very good striker, a former glory kickboxer. He's gotten, what was his name? Jung out of there, I believe his name was, by knockout. We saw that was impressive. But he's also been finished here in the past recently. Who do you like in this one, the heavy-handed Vitor Petrino or the kickboxing, former kickboxer Dustin Jacoby?
Oh, give me Petrino. Yeah, I think the UFC is trying to get Jacoby killed, or he's trying to get himself killed. Look at the guys he's lost to. He's 1-5. He's 1-4 in his last 5, right? Khalil Roundtree lost by split. That's amazing to me that he survived that kind of like that fight. I mean, it tells you how tough Jacoby is when he's taking these rough fights. The Azamat fight, that was just weird, but Mazakhanov does that to everybody. Kennedy, he knocked out Kennedy. Credit. Alonzo decision. Okay. Dominic Reyes knocked out. You're still 1-4 in your last 5. I don't know if it's, you're not picking your fights right, or you just don't have it. But I think Dustin's one of those guys that steps up when the UFC calls him, and so that's why he's still around. But this is it, dude. Like you win or go home. This is it. Win or go home on this fight for Dustin. And I know he damn well does not want to do that on a freaking fight night. If he's gonna go out and leave and go out in a war, hopefully it's got to be in a pay-per-view. So I'm still taking Petrino to knock him out, unfortunately, but because Petrino is still on the come up and all that, he's got a lot more. He's gonna have a lot more going for him in the division as well after this one. So, Victor Petrino gets probably a knockout, and we probably see Dustin Jacoby. If he doesn't call it a career, maybe goes and joins that tournament over there that apparently nobody likes.
I think Vitor Petrino is going to use that last loss against Anthony Smith as a learning experience. A lot of the fighters who we see take a loss early in their career can then propel themselves and go on these really long win streaks. I think that's probably going to be the case for Petrino. He's good, man. And I really thought that he was going to win that fight against Anthony Smith. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt on the ground. He's heavy-handed on the feet. But he just made a mistake going in for a takedown, trying to get the fight to the ground, and it cost him dearly. But I think he's going to use it as a learning experience here. He has the physical size advantage. I think he's going to be stronger than Jacoby and is going to be able to take him to the fence and drag him to the ground if he needs to, or maybe he tries to stand and trade and knock him out. Jacoby is very technical and fast on the feet. I believe he played college football and was a quarterback. He's an elite athlete. So maybe he does get the better of Petrino on the feet, but I think Petrino nonetheless can take him down and find a path to victory there as well. But this is a very interesting light heavyweight matchup. The up-and-coming Vitor Petrino versus really Dustin Jacoby, who's trying to hang on to a job here inside the UFC.
Yeah, no, 100%. And real quick, because we're on live, breaking news about 40 minutes ago from AG Fight. Shout out AG Fight. Amanda Lemos against Yasmin Lucindo, UFC 313.
It's a decent fight.
That's a good fight. That's a big fight for Lucindo. Like, she wins that fight, especially against Amanda Lemos. She's like, ooh, you're doing something. Anyway, yeah. So, but again, this fight right here, Vitor Petrino's got everything going for him.
Yeah, we kind of had a couple announcements today for new fights. They're going to be coming out with them pretty soon.
I got another one.
Oh, what is it?
Don Davis, get your head together, motherfucker.
All righty, moving down the card here. This is actually a very compelling fight to me. We got a bantamweight contest between undefeated Daniel Marcos and Adrian Yanez, who last year everyone was talking about being an upstart in the division after getting his knockout win here in Texas. But Daniel Marcos has picked up victories over Davey Grant by split decision, somebody who's a respected veteran and former contender in the past. He's coming from Peru. He may be the only contender coming from Peru. I do not see a lot of fighters coming out of that country very often, but he's going to put his undefeated record on the line here, 16-0 against Adrian Yanez. Yanez was turned back by Rob Font by knockout. Is he going to learn from that and go on a winning streak here and be able to defeat the undefeated Daniel Marcos? Or is Daniel Marcos going to keep the train rolling and it's going to be another tough outing for Adrian Yanez.
So we always know Adrian Yanez likes a firefight. He gets in there, you hit him, he wants to hit you harder. He's that kind of guy. I think he should, but I think he should do this. I think he's going to slow down a little bit. I think he realizes that he was on fire for a while. These last 2 fights, you know why he got finished? Because he did that. He was like, "Oh, you're going to hit me? I'm going to hit you back." I mean, Rob Font knocked him out, right? Knocked him out.
Yeah, I believe it's TKO, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then Jonathan Martinez kicked the shit out of him. Literally kicked the shit out of him to where he couldn't fight anymore. So it's going to be that kind of fight where Adrian's going to have to be like patient, maybe not try to go crazy in the first round, or maybe not get into a brawl. The problem is Daniel Marcos would love a brawl more than anything. And can Adrian like stick to a game plan that keeps him maybe not safe, but keeps him from putting himself in spots to get savagely knocked out? That's going to me is going to be the question. He needs to right the ship here. He's got two in a row. I know he's coming off a win over somebody right now, but
he had that really impressive win Salvador. Over Tony Kelly, I think his name was.
Yeah,
but.
And then he beat Benicio Salvador recently up in March or May. But again, you got to keep that moving. You got to keep that going. You got to show you're evolving. You got to show that ability to dictate where the fight's going, not just accept that we're getting into a firefight. Yeah. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think
and Daniel Marcos
going to show it.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Daniel Marcos is someone who will get into that firefight with him. I think this could easily be a fight of the night contender and something that fight fans are going to want to turn in early for. Adrian Yanez, as you mentioned, will go in there and really try and get guys out of there and impose his will. But that's the same story for Daniel Marcos so far in his career. Him and Davey Grant was a tremendous back and forth fight. But I think that this is going to be fight of the night this weekend. And that's really what I've got for you guys to look forward to on this UFC Fight Night card between Colby Covington and Joaquin Buckley. That will be taking place in Tampa, correct?
Yeah, Tampa. And Jay Anderson will be there for Cageside Press, getting himself out of that Canadian weather, bro, because it's freezing.
That'd be nice for him. Oh,
yeah, he'll love it. He loves going to Florida. I don't know why. That flight sucks from Toronto.
Probably like what you just said to get out of the cold weather. But
Yeah. Put on a hoodie, Jay. You're fine. No, I'm just kidding.
Thanks for joining us, fight fans. We'll be back next week. We'll break down everything from the UFC Fight Night Covington versus Buckley card and bring you any breaking news that comes over the weekend. Thanks for joining us.